All right, hey everybody, welcome to This Pink Cloud. I am DJ Kelly Reverb. Thank you. You are tuned into a show called This Pink Cloud. We're a show that is about recovery, multiple pathways to recovery, mental health, all that good stuff. Yeah, because recovery and mental health is sad. Anyway, sitting in to my left, my good buddy and cohort and partner in crime, Chad LeMans, everybody.
Hey, how's it going today?
Hey.
Hey, everybody, back watching the videos. It's good to see you. It's good to see your face.
Are you working on your ASM or AMSR? Is it ASRM?
ASMR, dude.
ASMR.
Sorry, once again, we're taking donations
Hey, hold
for
on.
Kelly's diaper supply.
Are you doing your voice for ASMR, but an elderly lady like
I'm trying
the
to fit in.
indigent community? Hey, everybody.
No, dude, I'm trying to fit in with all the people that you're gonna be hanging out with at your nursing home.
Is that right? Yeah. See,
That was good.
Don't
dude.
validate him, dude. Please.
We're all going to end up in the same one anyway. It's going to be lit. We're going to be spinning it.
Exactly. I love it. Well, dude, sitting in, I am excited to have this guy. He took a road trip to be here, and I'm excited. And we've actually spoken on the phone. So we have, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ryan C., a.k.a. Elektrik Ryhno from Oklahoma City. What's up, my brother?
Hey, Kelly, how you doing?
How are you, dude?
Phenomenal.
I am excited to have you in. And then why don't you introduce Addison, the dude that is sitting next to you, because I know he was a key part of your recovery program.
Yeah, directly to my right is Addison K. Dykro is his stage name.
Okay.
And he was absolutely instrumental in my baseline fundamentals and my success.
Cool.
As something as simple as getting on CDJs. If not for him, then I wouldn't have been able to perform.
You
in
would
my
not
first
be
show.
Electric or a Rhino.
No, I had a train wreck.
Right. You would have been train wreck Rhino.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. I appreciate you coming in, man. I know you've got an interesting backstory because, you were like, what was the rank in the Navy?
E8 senior chief.
Yeah, so E8 senior chief, and you were actually on a submarine, which I cannot even imagine of being a tube underwater for an extended period of time. But I'm excited to hear the backstory and talk about all the USOs and underwater cities. And
They're there.
No, I'm just kidding.
They're there.
See,
They're there.
But anyway, yeah. Why don't you start us back with a little backstory for the people?
Okay. Originally from Massachusetts, greater Boston area. Enlisted at the age of 17.
Go Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah. They're like dispensaries in OKC. They're across the street from each other. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Right.
But enlisted at the age of 17 and took about 4 or 5 months before I elected to go into the submarine community. Mm-hmm. And I chose that because there were less people to cater to, better chance for rank, and a little bit better pay.
Right.
So I chose that hardship, which honestly submarines are a hardship. They're very difficult.
For sure, yeah.
They will
they're
suck your soul
cool.
out.
Yeah, they're cool for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Until you realize you're basically...
Dude, they're super fucking cool to look at.
Until you basically realize you're trapped.
Yeah, that actually plays into my PTSD that I have. It's chronic and mild. And the PTSD, the baseline is there because of being trapped. It's the fear of being trapped with terrible things happening. Toxic gas, fires, flooding.
Right. Well, before we get to that, let's go back even a little further. Were you actually actively, were you just drinking beers and stuff up north and everything was cool? And then the PTSD happened and then the addiction issues started happening, or how did it go?
PTSD was post-career, diagnosed 2 years after I retired. Alcohol was an absolute part of our culture because it's the only thing we were really allowed to cope with.
Right.
Psychotropic drugs are not allowed in the submarine community to benefit mental health. If you go out to a provider, the stigmas that are attached with that alone will carry you out of the submarine force. So once you start on that adventure, you're all done with submarines, and that did happen to me.
Right.
So the amount of anxiety, panic, and bad things that I felt while I was in the submarine service, I was literally treating with alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very bad for
Right.
me at
But
the
I
end
mean,
of the
were
road.
you just like what they would call a quote unquote regular partier prior to enlisting?
Correct.
Yeah. Like you, I mean, just kind of normal kid stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple
okay.
beers here and there.
Right.
You know, and
Eh.
maybe a couple shots, and
Right.
I was pretty happy.
Okay.
But it grew into something that I didn't understand was happening to me.
Right.
And by the time I realized it had happened to me, it was too late. I had pushed everybody in my life out of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was literally left by myself, with myself, and had to make a change. Or
Right.
I wasn't going to be around.
Well, let's talk about that PTSD portion of it. So you enlist 17. You start. I mean, are you automatically just right into the submarine, or how does it go? Because I know there's training as well.
Yeah, it's pretty exhaustive what we go through for the psychological profiles.
Okay.
It takes about 6 months before you end up being a submariner.
What is that process like? Do they sit there and do like extensive work to see if you can handle, like if you can
Correct.
if you can keep your shit together?
Correct.
Okay.
We go through a pipeline of schools called Naval Submarine School.
Mm-hmm.
And within that, there's firefighting trainers, submarine escape trainers, there's flood trainers.
Okay.
So we go through all these different batteries to ensure that we can actually handle what is be classified as a casualty on board a submarine. Not a death,
Mm-hmm.
but something bad happening on the ship.
Right.
We have to run right at it,
Mhm.
not back away from it and let somebody else get to it. Seconds matter.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of the other training. In order to earn your submarine warfare pin, it takes about a year
Mhm.
of learning every piece of that submarine inside and out,
Yeah.
because we depend upon each other for being in a space, even though you may not be the qualified guy. But if
Mhm.
you see something wrong, you know enough.
You know
to
what's up
fix
to
it.
diagnose and
Correct.
fix. Yeah.
Correct.
Well, I mean, it's almost like, honestly, it's like you're going into space. It's like being an astronaut and being able to be, we need to do this, like Apollo 13 kind of stuff. We need to be able to do
Yeah.
this in order to survive to get home. So
Correct.
it's really the same thing when you're going that deep and underwater.
Yeah,
you know?
it's even dangerous on the surface too.
Yeah.
For our submarines, when we broach, which is a submarine going from underwater to the surface unexpectedly, that's extremely dangerous because we're usually underneath a merchant vessel using their traffic lane, and in the Persian Gulf, it's extremely shallow. So some of these big vessels, the LNGs, will draft 90 feet. That leaves us about 50 feet on the bottom to get through in some places.
Wow.
So there was a submarine that got sucked up by the Venturi effect,
Okay.
which is the propellers creating a vacuum.
Uh-huh.
The new USS Newport News, it looked like literally a giant X-Men Wolverine clawed the side of the boat.
Wow.
They were a half-inch away of steel to compromising the entire forward compartment. So it's dangerous under there, and when we broach, it's pretty scary because sometimes we're within a very close proximity to other countries.
Oh, yeah. You could be in enemy territory, so
Correct.
to speak. Yeah.
Correct.
That's crazy. So, and I mean, that just sounds like, that already sounds high stress. Like,
was.
Automatically. Like, I mean, all these different factors, and then the fact that you could pretty much die at any time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we would laugh it off.
Yeah, right.
I've met many servicemen, many veterans, Marines, Army, Air Force, and I've even had Navy SEALs look at me like I was crazy because I worked with dozens of them in my career,
Right.
and there was a handful of them over that group of guys that were like, "You're crazy for doing this," and I'm looking at him like, "You're a trained assassin. This is nuts. How can you say that?"
Right.
So it was pretty neat. I had great interactions with those guys. I can go into detail more about that, but
Yeah.
The mental health aspect that I went through, I kept my mouth shut about what I had going on for almost a 3-year period, and it damn near killed me. Like, I was close to suicide handfuls of times.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that seems to be the path that a lot of people take.
Correct.
In that line of work. Because
Well-
a long time ago, I did a thing with 22 Kill,
Yes.
which is about the 22 veterans every day that commit suicide because of mental health stuff and PTSD and stuff like that. So that's been a problem, and I think it's probably more a problem now. But if we could shed some light on that, which I know you can,
Yeah,
that would be
absolutely.
fantastic.
Unfortunately, I've been close to that in the service. We had service members that were on board in my sister divisions that ended up taking their own lives.
Mhm.
And the impact of that is actually in part what saved me, because I saw what happened in the aftermath. Excuse me if I get a little emotional.
Yeah.
But I saw the aftermath with the dozens of submarines, the 24 submarines on or about that we had in Groton, Connecticut. There was most of the crew from each submarine that poured into the chapel to observe a memoriam for Mickey Croon.
Mhm.
And that impact, what I saw there was like, okay, Ryan, like, you really got to pull your head out.
Mhm.
This is not what you want in life.
Well, I mean, yeah, paint that picture for people. Like, I mean, besides being in a tube underwater, go into that a little bit. Like,
Sure.
what that's like.
Okay. Over my 20 years, 18 days is what I put in.
Mhm.
Majority in the submarine community.
By the way, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
easy
Shout out. Got to do that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. In total, I've literally spent 6 years, 11 months, and a couple days underwater deployed
Wow.
out of my 20-year career.
So what was the longest extent you were underwater
96.
for? 96 days?
Yes.
Holy crap, man. I was like 96 hours? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But
no.
96 days
Yeah.
underwater.
Over 3 months.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's rough, dude.
Pop up, 2-day port call, and
And not everybody gets to get out and stretch their legs, do they?
no,
No?
the longest straightaway on the submarine is 40 feet.
Uh-huh.
And the passageways are too narrow for you and I to walk shoulder to shoulder by each other.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We'd have to go back to back, or,
It doesn't pay to
Chest
be a
to
big
chest.
guy in
No.
a sub.
No, a guy my height is actually pretty perfect for a submarine.
Okay.
5'7", 5'7"
Right.
and a half, 8.
Mhm.
Right around there is like the perfect height. Guys that are 6 feet and over,
Yeah.
they got to sleep in that tiny little bunk that's barely 6 feet.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all curled up like in the fetal position.
Yeah, for sure.
We had an engineer on my first boat that was 6'6".
Oh, wow.
He had a lot of back problems.
Right?
A
Yeah.
lot.
Well, it's like being a tank driver, too.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
they're not designed for you, dude. So,
No.
So anyway, finish painting that picture, what it's like.
Okay. It becomes like Groundhog Day.
Mm-hmm.
Like the movie. Everything's the same every day, and it's interesting. It's scary. It is a mental challenge. It's a physical challenge.
Mm-hmm. Physical, how so?
Well, when we load the boat out, it's
Mhm.
all hand over hand through the hatches.
Mhm.
There's no
Oh, yeah.
cranes or conveyors. So
Yeah.
when we would do a food load out, 2 18-wheelers would show up with
There's a place to
20
probably
pallets.
put like torpedoes
Correct.
and warheads, but then there's no like cargo hatch.
We literally stack guys like sardines around those torpedoes too,
Yeah.
and the tomahawks and all
Uh-huh.
that stuff,
Right.
like sardines.
Yeah.
packed around, sleeping next to
Yeah,
a
live
20-foot.
live ammunition.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. Some of the things that I witnessed there were pretty difficult to ingest, like we had talked about a little bit before. Some of the casualties that would happen were pretty scary at times.
Mhm.
Very scary, as a matter of fact, especially the fires, because the compartment fills up with smoke like lightning.
Oh yeah.
Like
For
lightning.
sure. Yeah.
And
I
you-
mean that can be from a really small fire
Correct.
too. Yeah. But it can go really
Raging.
sideways really quick.
If a fire reaches the hull, there's a toxic gas that comes off of the what do you call that stuff? Hull insulation.
Okay.
The toxic gas that comes off of that, if you ingest it, if you're inhaling that for half a minute,
Yeah.
you're out.
You're done.
You're out.
And then and you're incapacitated and basically can't do anything and
Right.
basically
And
you
that
die.
that was one of my jobs. If somebody was incapacitated,
So I got a question. How many people are on the submarine with you? At
anywhere
one
from
time?
$140 to $250.
Oh,
Jesus
wow,
Christ.
dude. So it's a party going on underneath
Yeah.
in a really confined space.
Yeah, the whole hot racking is a real thing.
Okay, hot racking. Let's hear that. What is that?
So 2/3 of the crew, it's basically broken up into thirds. So when one group is performing their duties awake, another group is asleep for 6 hours, and then the other group is doing maintenance for 6 hours or 8 hours.
So now,
it rotates.
yeah. So, but are there dudes that share bunks? So you use this bunk from this hour to this hour.
Yeah, when you hop out, somebody's hopping in, so the rack is still hot.
Yeah, I get
hot
it.
Rack.
I get it. Makes sense, dude.
Yeah.
So, dude, man, yeah, it's like the whole flatulence thing. I can just imagine what it's like.
We used to say that we would breathe recycled farts. So
that's right.
it was terrible.
Yeah, I bet. That's where my mind automatically went, dude.
I think that one of the greatest things that put us in the most danger was when I was aboard the USS Philadelphia. We were out doing a surface transit, and we lost control and lost power in the reactor.
Okay.
So we lost all our propulsion. But what was definitely mind-numbing for me was the fact that the rods for the nuclear reactor were up.
Mm-hmm.
So that means the rock is hot. That means we're producing nuclear fuel, and we had no way to control it for a 5-hour period.
Oh, wow.
We couldn't get the propulsion aspect going. So we're sitting there like sitting ducks.
Yeah.
With no propulsion, with a reactor that
And were you
was
in
going sideways.
enemy territory at this time? Or,
Not at that
or
time.
hostile territory?
Persian Gulf Transit. Yeah, it
Okay.
was definitely hostile
Yeah.
out there.
Uh-huh.
Definitely hostile.
Right. Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You were saying one of your jobs was with the casualties.
Extractions.
Okay.
Yep. I was emergency medical assistance team. I have advanced first aid training. I was also a diver in the Navy.
Oh, wow.
So I have ACLS training, advanced cardio life support, and being in hyperbaric chambers and being able to deliver that. I performed in that function. So that was neat.
Did
but I
you
didn't
ever
enjoy it.
experience the bends yourself personally?
No. In order to get the bends, you would have to saturate your body with nitrogen. The thumb rule or the guideline that we use is 60 feet for 60 minutes.
Right.
So if you go greater than 60 minutes, you have to observe a decompression stop. If you don't, then those tiny little bubbles that are inside the muscle tissue will release through solution in the bloodstream, and then those little bubbles collect in places you don't want them to, and that causes the neurological deficits. So
I just figured you might have experienced that, or borderline like being, diving as well.
Squeezes.
Yeah.
I had a dive buddy that ended up with a mediastinal pneumothorax, so he popped his lung.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
In 15 feet of water.
Say that again.
Mediastinal pneumothorax.
I like that. That was impressive.
One-time leakage from the lung.
Oh, wow.
Behind the sternum.
All right. Are we good here, Chad?
We're about to be, yeah. That main camera just dropped off, so let me see if it's back on now. It should be. There we go. Yeah, we're good
Sweet.
now. Sorry about that.
Okay. But, yeah, so anyway, so obviously, yeah, there's a lot of trauma going on. And then you said about you went to the Persian Gulf, right?
A lot.
Yeah. And I mean, you said that you mapped pretty much the Persian Gulf, right? Like,
yeah, I think that we've been doing this for 2 decades, in my opinion.
Right.
With mapping technology.
Right. Well,
because we don't know what's in the ocean really, but there's a huge interest in what's out there.
Well, right. And then, I mean, as far as what you can share, I mean, what did you see in the Persian Gulf that you know of, or you're allowed to talk about?
That mapping technology could literally pick up that Dunkin' Donuts
the
bottle
coffee,
off the bottom.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's
so then you could
highly
see
visible.
any anomalies whatsoever, and with clarity,
yes,
as well. So
I need my tinfoil hat right now.
Yeah, right.
For sure, dude.
So what's going? Yeah, I mean, are you allowed to share what you saw, or?
No, that
No?
is classified.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen other countries through periscopes. I've
Right.
seen other naval bases that I shouldn't have seen through periscopes.
Right.
We have done stuff that is super, super dangerous with foreign vessels. Tracking, video, watching them.
Well, yeah, I mean,
taking
there's all kinds of war games going on, basically, but it's like live war games with with real countries, with real guns pointed at you, and all that kind of
Absolutely.
thing. Yeah.
Well, while you say the real guns pointing at you, it is absolutely a thing that foreign countries are scared of us because of our forward projected sea power. We have many aircraft carriers, many surface ships, many that are updated and very capable. But the submarines of this generation, the Virginia-class submarines, are insane what they can do.
Yeah.
What they can carry for a large payload in regards to weapons. And these things are very silent. They're extremely quiet. So with these Virginia-class submarines, the level of reconnaissance that they can do is far above what anything that we've had in the past.
Right. And would
Far
you
above.
say that it's superior to air reconnaissance that we have?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Yep. There's
See, because a lot of people don't think about that. They just
No.
think, oh, U-2 spy plane, blah, 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 which obviously there's well beyond that now. But nobody really thinks about the capabilities of, underwater.
right. I think there's the name of the plane was called a P-90, and they were specifically designed to find and trap submarines basically in a triangle or in a box. They would drop sonar buoys that would listen. And if they found us, then they could drop weapons on us.
Right. Well, I mean, there is some type of stealth technology on submarines as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's, I don't know if that's classified or not, but there is a way to mask submarines so
Yeah.
that they sound like biologics, like fish and whales.
Genius.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or sound like enemy vessels.
Yeah. Got it.
Like we have technology to make our propeller and the propulsion system literally sound like the Russians or the Italians or
So
the
they think it's
Israelis.
like friendly. Yeah, they're like, oh, cool, that's one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about that. Nobody really thinks about that. That's not in the service, but it's fascinating to think about.
Yeah.
But so let's get to we'll get to the recovery part. But I mean, obviously, man, that is an intense job. So what kind of when does that take its toll, and then how does that take its toll?
I would say when I first joined, the age of 17, went to my first submarine at the age of 18, first deployment on my 18th birthday. Literally, we left that day, June 26th, and that's the one that I was underwater for 96 days.
Oh, wow.
We pulled into Tromsø, Norway. We were there for 2 days, and the whole crew got lit on a pub crawl.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, getting into what that work was like and how it affected me when I was 18, it didn't bother me. My first imminent feeling of death was in the Bermuda Triangle, where I was doing a light ocean recovery. They throw a box overboard that signifies a human being, and we have to go out and recover it. I almost got swept away.
And that was just a
multiple
training
times.
mission.
Correct.
Right, okay.
Yeah, swept away multiple times. That really close to it.
Wow.
Very close.
Okay.
If I wasn't as strong of a swimmer as I was back then I wouldn't have made it back to the side of the submarine.
Yeah.
Takes a half a mile for the submarine to make a turn,
Oh, yeah.
come back. So we're looking at a half an hour of me bobbing around, and it's just my head with
Sure.
a blue T-shirt and a green life preserver,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
So I'm not going to be found.
Right.
That one got me. And so that one starts the beginning of the PTSD that was
And
probably
how old
prevalent.
were you when that happened?
18. No,
Okay.
I'm sorry, 20.
Okay.
20. I graduated dive school in 1998.
Uh-huh.
So the cumulative
So
effect.
that one starts getting in your head and starts cracking the armor, huh?
Yeah, and then
Okay.
my buddy pops a lung. I almost lose all my air on one dive.
Right. You're like, oh, we're playing for keeps now.
Yeah, it's like swimming in cold coffee. I couldn't even see you guys sitting 3 feet in front of me.
Uh-huh.
You had to go face to face, like inches away to
Right.
see each other.
Wow.
And that was only at 40, 45, 50 feet deep underneath the submarine.
Yeah.
So that one kind of started it. And then we had multiple fires. It seemed like once a month something sideways happened on our boats.
Yeah.
At least once a month. That was a critical We got to get at this or it's going to hurt us.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like I was saying, the cumulative effect would have been about my 15-year point is when my mind and my body couldn't handle it anymore.
Yeah.
I experienced severe manifestations of physical anxieties, panic attacks, and
well, you were talking about like electrical shock level, like
yeah,
to where
it's an adrenaline dump.
Yeah.
That happens right out of the heart. And for me, it felt like I got electrically shocked from my heart, and it would radiate like lightning through my fingertips, through my head, made me feel lightheaded, disoriented. It was bad. It was really, really bad. I didn't feel like I could stand up, and I knew I wasn't having a heart attack, but I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I didn't know anxiety could do that to you.
Yeah, it's a scary thing, dude.
It was
Especially, well,
terrifying.
I mean, I had my first one when I was 25, and I'm like, dude, I'm 25. I'm not having a heart attack, but
Right, you're still inhuman at that age.
I think I'm still bulletproof here,
Right.
man. But I, that overwhelming, the feeling of doom and
Yeah,
that
the
you're
anxiety that feeds
dying.
into it makes it even fucking worse.
Yeah.
Oh, huge.
Well, you can't shut it down once it starts, dude. It's
No.
really tough. The people tell me to breathe. I'm like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
You know?
The crazy thing is that
Yeah, but it does work
it
if you
does.
can. Yeah.
I went to therapy
Yeah.
where they were doing box breathing.
Yep.
Right.
5-second inhale, 1-second pause, 6-second exhale, doing tension and reflection
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
exercises. But I literally sat with the machine that would read my breathing levels and see how oxygenated I was.
Mm-hmm.
They were teaching me how to breathe.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you kidding me? You're teaching me how to breathe?
Yeah.
I'm 30 years old, 33 years old, and you're teaching me how to breathe?
Right.
This is insane. Like, this doesn't compute in my mind. Like,
Sure.
this is silly.
Right.
This shouldn't be happening.
But it works, right?
It does work.
Yeah.
It really does work.
Well,
in conjunction with other therapy methods.
Right. Well, let's go back to so you're at the 20 or the 15-year mark where the armor starts to crack.
Absolutely.
So walk us through there.
About mid-30s is when I experienced the severe manifestations of the anxiety, the panic, the depression,
And you start turning to substance to
alcohol.
help. Yeah.
It's the only thing they would let us cope with.
Right. And
was
that
the
was
alcohol.
okay. Yeah. Hey, go have some beers,
It's
man.
cultural.
You'll be fine. Yeah.
So you walk into the base department store and the walls are just decked out with alcohol.
They're covered with culture. Right.
Yeah. So the cumulative effect, it was difficult. Even the nerves in my eyes were vibrating.
Mm-hmm.
I
Dude, like
literally
the brain zap kind of thing?
Yeah, I literally felt like I needed a pair of glasses. I went for a prescription. They're like, your vision looks good. I
Right.
don't understand. And it took a while. It took a it took a psychologist to explain it to me. Like, you're in such a severe spot of injury that the nerves in your eyes are vibrating, Ryan.
Right.
And I was like, what?
Wow.
That's insane. I didn't know panic and anxiety could do that to a person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
60 to 80 pound dumbbell feeling on the chest, couldn't sleep, wake up with violent panic feelings,
Yeah.
couldn't swallow my own spit, felt like I was choking.
I love that. That one's always fun.
That was
Yeah.
insanely.
Yeah.
I couldn't even eat food. I was dropping weight on the boat because I wouldn't eat.
Uh-huh.
I literally felt like I was choking. I'd have to chase it with water. I was hiding
Yeah.
in the galley in the corner, eating my food because I didn't want anybody to see me all messed up.
Yeah.
That was something that now that I'm thinking about this, that was probably my greatest leadership challenge, even as a senior chief. And a senior chief is one away from as high as you can be in the enlisted force for the Navy. I was literally in the top 1% of naval enlisted leadership. There were only 19 of us Navy-wide that were qualified to do specific jobs on submarines, and I was in that group. Nobody else in that group was qualified as a diver, so I was a neon sign of neon signs.
Yeah. So, and you have to be the shining example as well. You're like the cream of the crop, and
Right.
you can't have you can't be you're trying to hide that when you're really a shit show inside.
Correct.
After
You don't get an
15
opportunity
years,
to be a weak ass dude in front of everybody, man.
No,
Exactly, yeah.
no.
Yeah.
When we would do inventories, I couldn't even count to 10. I literally couldn't.
Wow.
I was so, oppressed by this physical feelings that I was
Right.
going through.
Right.
So probably one of my greatest leadership challenge was being shorthanded with my division. I was missing a couple guys where I should have been manned up properly. In addition to that, I had to really push all the weight of what I was doing on my guys and train them way beyond their expectations.
Right.
In order for them to run it. And it was very successful. I was able to establish a family-oriented atmosphere in a very militant, in a very military industry. We did some amazing things with my division, and it really, with my divisions and it in my departments, because I was a department head.
Right.
I ran logistics and food service. I was a supply department and enlisted advisor.
Right.
So it was definitely probably, like I said, the greatest leadership challenge I had
Yeah.
was pushing the weight on my guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a
And having
lot.
them
That's a
take care
lot
of
to
me.
be responsible for, and a stressful environment, straight up about as most traumatizing as you can get.
Yeah, the logistic aspect, parts of the submarine that are needed as backups, millions of dollars, millions on millions and millions of dollars worth of parts. And then food service, like that's the number one limiting factor on a submarine. If we could pack out 30 years worth of food on a submarine, that submarine would never surface
Right.
to pull in anywhere.
Wow.
It's got like a 30-year core on it. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, that's insane to
So
think about
food limiting.
staying. Yeah.
Yeah, so the food limiting, I had colleagues that didn't do their inventories right. They were lying about what they really had in the house to get out to deployments.
Uh
They'd go 2 weeks out there and they'd run out of food
huh.
and have to do an emergency pull-in.
Right.
You can't go to the captain and say, "Hey, Skipper,
Hey, yeah, we
I'm
need
out
to
of
stop
peanut
by,
butter and
dude."
It's
Yeah.
3 days in.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, you're not going to have your job very long.
I got it. I got
So coordinating even like a store's load
it. Yeah.
8 months before you actually receive it is when you're diagnosing your inventories, checking your validities, predicting your losses,
Right.
and then ordering to refill all that stuff.
Yeah.
I did that.
Yeah. This isn't like, oh, hey, run to Tom Thumb because we're out of arugula.
No.
You know, this is like, yeah, some serious planning and foresight that goes into it. Real quick, hey, let's throw to commercial. We've got our boy Max the Axe, and he is with Lone Star Injury Attorneys. If you go to thispinklawyer.com, it will take you to his website. He is a personal injury attorney. He will get you maximum results. He practices in Texas and in California, and just shoot him an email, and he will get back to you on your personal injury needs. And then also we've got some new stuff coming out, and I think Chadwick, you have that little video we made, which is quite entertaining.
Oh, fuck, it's so good.
Hey guys, Kelly Reverb here.
Yo, what up, gang?
Super excited to announce the relaunch of Lone Star Records. We're starting off with the re-release of this classic track,
ladies only.
remastered by this guy. Then we have a remix by my good buddy, legendary DJ Donald Glaude. And last but not least, we've got new stuff coming out from me and this guy.
Yo, what up, gang?
So be sure and follow us on all major streaming platforms, including Beatport. How was that?
He's so good.
Hey, what up, gang?
Yo, what up, gang?
What up, gang?
Fuck, it's so good.
Anyway, yeah, that one's going to be coming out. Flashback, that last track is going to be coming out on the 29th. That's going to be exciting. We've got a bunch of new stuff coming out as well. We actually just signed up with your boy from Rybox.
Yeah,
So
Flashback was literally I think that was the seed that we needed to get you into Rybox, because they made a comment on Instagram about
Oh, yeah.
I think they said Bomba.
Mm-hmm.
And
Like
I
means
knew,
fire, yeah.
I knew it was about your track. I just knew it was.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well,
I'm glad it come
that
to
goes back
fruition.
to my theory that the universe is a friendly place if you let it be, and then also if you don't live in fear and you take care of all that baggage that goes with it, and just notice that, that hey, man, maybe people are looking out for you if you're not so self-absorbed and so worried and all the fear. You know?
Right.
So, just my thought.
And
Fear.
also, thank you so much for introducing us to those people because that's awesome.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
were looking for a home for the Latin stuff.
we got an Italian label, man. Are you
Putting
kidding?
out Spanish shit.
Are you kidding me, man? We're putting something out in Bologna, dude. Woo!
Yeah, that's dope. That's so dope.
Yeah, no, but that's cool. So thanks for that hookup. But it's funny how
No, you did all
things
the
work,
work.
dude.
You did all the work.
Well,
on that.
but thank you for the introduction.
Easy day.
There we go.
Well deserved.
Yeah, well, and I mean, so back to the shit show.
Yeah.
I mean, dude,
Or ship show, if you will.
Yeah, ship
Yeah.
show, right? Speaking of that, dude, yeah, I often I'm wondering, how did the whole bathroom situation work in a sub, dude? Is it just are y'all so to speak launching torpedoes all day, dude? Like, I mean,
There's a waste collection tank
okay,
that fills up over a week period, and
Uh-huh.
then we dump it overboard. Becomes fish food.
ah,
The worst part about this is,
yeah,
bubbles will
give you away,
give you away.
yeah.
So it's vented inboard. The smell.
Oh no,
Yes.
dude!
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Brutal.
you're just smelling that Taco Bell for what, like weeks? I mean, is it?
It's hours on hours.
Wow.
Before we're able to purge the old air out of the submarine and bring in new air.
Wow, dude, that's
Jesus Christ.
dude. Wow, I cannot imagine that. These are like little things that nobody thinks about.
No.
That's unique to that environment because you're submersed, man. You're underwater, and by the way, you can't breathe underwater. you know.
No, sometimes
Yeah.
we would operate without our oxygen generator because it was too loud.
Oh yeah.
So we
Yeah.
would run with oxygen candles, like
Sure.
a little metal box that holds like a catalytic to oxygen, and it would be warmed up in a cylindrical furnace.
Right.
Our oxygen levels would dip way below what they were supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
The severe headache, the CO2 buildup, it's gross what happens to you. You could sleep 24 hours and get up and feel like you didn't sleep for 10 days.
Yeah.
It really was painful.
Wow. That's crazy. And these are things that normal people don't even really think about. I
Yeah.
mean, because they're not in that environment, but there's so many hazards that go on. It's amazing.
It really is.
But yeah, so let's talk about the PTSD, and then like you're 15 years in, the crack happens, and then you're starting to realize. I mean, I guess you have to get honest with your superior officers and say, hey, dude, I need to back out. Put me on a land job for a while, right?
Yeah, it was at my 17 and a half year point that I raised my hand and I said, I can't do this anymore without help.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so reluctant to really get the help. I didn't put in what I was supposed to with the work.
Right.
I did about 10 years worth of therapy. I recently stopped going since I moved out to OKC.
Mm-hmm.
It was good therapy and bad therapy. All in all, it taught me so much that I'm actually in probably the greatest place I've ever been in my life.
Right.
So I would say that at the 15-year point when I broke, getting to the 17 and a half year point where I raised my hand, the Navy was so kind to me and I'd done so much work. I literally stayed in Groton, Connecticut for 17 out of my 20 years.
Right.
That's unheard of.
Yeah.
To stay
Well, I
in
mean,
one
that's a long
location.
run, bro. I mean, to be in that and to be in that environment. I mean, I applaud you for that. I mean, because
Thank
that
you.
is a lot of mental fortitude.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it took more fortitude at the end of my career because I had to grieve the loss of my career. And I didn't understand that initially.
Right.
I was a hardcore Navy man, very successful, and that's what it was going to be for the rest of my career. I looked at doing 30 years, and it was a viable path. I was very close. I made senior chief at my 16-year point. That's lightning. That was really quick.
Right.
So I was being groomed for the last position, as a chief of the boat, the senior enlisted advisor over all the enlisted. That's what the path ahead that I was going towards, but didn't work out, and that's okay.
Right.
But at the time, it wasn't okay. I felt like I needed to be there for the guys. I felt like me being gone was a huge detriment to the ship. And although these things were true, the world keeps turning.
Right.
With or without you. There was somebody there to take up what was going on. And I'd trained my men in my division well enough that they didn't fail.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I had said, that was probably like one of my greater leadership challenges going into that on my last submarine. But I had such a difficult time coping with what I had going on. I was in the middle of also at home. The home life started to break apart.
Right.
Where I was in the beginning of my separation. I was married for 16 and a half years.
And kids, right?
3.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ages 20, 18, and 15 now.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty much grown.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing people.
Right.
So the PTSD aspect, I didn't understand that it could transform too, because I went through a year of delusional thinking. You know, I felt like I was Jason Bourne at one point because I thought people were coming at me.
Right.
To kill me.
Yeah.
And where that came from was from my time in service, and I also went to jail for a little while post-service, it was in the middle of what was going to be my divorce.
Mm-hmm.
I was literally in cuffs when I signed my papers.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming that the substance use disorder, you didn't really cope with it mentally. You just turned to substance use to mask all that PTSD.
That's correct.
And then it didn't happen. You didn't address that until you got into recovery and actually went and got
correct.
help.
That's
right?
correct. Yeah, I went to 3 rehabs, all in Connecticut at the Stonington Institute,
Mm-hmm.
the Starlight program. Absolutely amazing program. They do great things for military members.
Yeah,
that
I
are
was going to say
veterans.
that's military, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exclusive. And
Yeah.
it was literally like a vacation, but I learned so much.
Mm-hmm.
So much. And I was
So
ready
shout
to
out
listen.
to them, man.
Yeah.
Huge shout out. They heal. They really get you inside and, give you a gut punch and tell you what you're really dealing with. And once you decide to face it, you can move forward. They do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what they helped me get to was the point of my no return to alcohol. It's been almost 7 years. This November, it'll be 7 years.
Shout
That's
out,
fucking
dude.
massive, dude.
Thank
Nice.
you.
Good
Thank
job.
you. I checked myself into a detox. I said I just needed a reset, and that's what I did.
Mm-hmm. Well, but then you also went to rehab a good handful of times, so you were
Right.
probably
Conditioned.
but you were also probably armed with a little bit more information than the average Joe regarding recovery and how to do it.
100%.
Versus somebody that just goes into detox and goes, okay, I'm good, I got this, I know to dial it back now. I mean, there was a lot of experience gained from
Correct.
those rehabs, that 3 stints you went to rehab.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct. And I didn't like going to the support groups for PTSD. I heard things in those rooms that were so heavy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to carry that. And it was the same with AA and NA. I was literally one of those guys that had the horror stories.
Mm-hmm.
Jumping out of moving cars, dry firing a gun next to my head, blacked out, had no idea I was
Wow.
doing it.
Wow.
My ex-wife is telling me the next day, Ryan, you're
Yeah, by
really
the way,
ill."
you had a gun to your head and were firing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was there
Yeah.
doing that stuff. And when they first put me on medications, once I finally fessed up to how sick I was still drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And it absolutely exacerbated all of my problems.
Right.
When they tell you that Prozac or duloxetine, fluoxetine may cause suicidal feelings,
Mm-hmm.
if you're drinking with that
They
stuff,
fucking mean it.
Yeah, right.
whoa.
Yeah.
Like, whoa. It comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And you're heavy in the despair.
Uh-huh.
So I was there for a period of time.
Yeah.
One of the really interesting things, and I just said this to a friend last night, or early this morning before we got to Dallas. If your dark is that dark, how bright is your bright?
Mm-hmm.
And when I read that, it really sang to me. You know, if I was in despair, how good can it be? If there's an opposite
yeah.
to that, what is that? And now I'm experiencing that, and I
Right.
can touch on that a little bit later.
Yeah. Well, let's hear about, okay, so you basically, over those 3 years, how long would you say, or those three different rehabs, how long of a period of time was that?
Year and a half.
So that was a year and a half, 3 times in, 3 times out.
Trying to quit booze.
Right. And then finally you went to the detox and 10-day detox, and then after that, then you've navigated 7 years successfully after
Correct.
that. So let's get to I like to get to the success part
Cool.
of your story, like basically, what you utilized and what this guy. I mean,
Yeah,
we'll talk
Addison.
about this guy sitting in the corner here for a while.
Great man,
Yeah,
mentor,
but
housed me when I was basically homeless.
yeah, but let's talk about like some of the tools that you learned from rehab and going to all these different rehabs and things that you think or were paramount to your recovery.
Okay, one of the biggest things is self-forgiveness. It comes from a form of, I think, self-love. I had an experience that and you and I had talked about this, but I had a spiritual experience that was unparalleled.
Yeah.
When that happened to me, I felt that I was given a definition within of what real forgiveness looked like. And I thought it was for my ex-wife at the time because she got a boyfriend in the separation, and I was like, all right, I'm going to forgive her.
Right.
It wasn't for her. That gift was for myself because I truly feel to heal within, you have to forgive all your transgressions. It has to be done, regardless of how ugly they are. Because what's happening, and if you don't process that information, it stays with you and it becomes encumbering. It becomes like a boulder that you carry.
Well, yeah,
behind
and
your
then
back.
you start obsessing over stuff too as well.
And it
Yeah.
becomes, it's irrelevant thinking because really 30% of the stuff that you're thinking about is actual good thought.
Right.
Practical.
Except that I'm always thinking I'm going to kill Chad.
No, he's always thinking about where his bell is so I can change his fucking diaper.
That's right,
Yeah.
man. Hey, that's some
Is it
good
time?
material.
Is it time, Kelly?
Thank you for using
Shut
my
up, dude.
material. Okay. Anyway.
I love you guys.
Anyway.
This is great.
But it gets better, especially when we start spending. We both just go delusional at about like 6 hours of working in the studio, depending on how long we've been up. It gets really fun.
I called him I think the one the other day was good.
Yeah, sissy whisperer, pussy pants.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
What did you say though? You said
Pecker's not belching something. Yeah,
fucking rumple foreskin.
Rumple
Oh,
foreskin.
boy, that's a
yeah.
good one.
with my pecker snot.
Anyway, nothing to do with recovery, but yeah.
Oh man, but it's good, dude. All right.
Well, let's be real. We got to this happy place because we have been recovering.
Oh yeah, and you and I were talking about this a lot about how just being the longer I've been removed from substance is like I realize the opportunities, and I realize stuff like that. The universe is a friendly place if you let it be, and I realize that not everybody, it's people are rooting for you, man. People want things good to happen for you, and it's okay. But you just got to learn to receive that, and then you also, not being, totally bombed out of my mind, you realize, oh well, hey, this is an opportunity. This person's being like Rybox. I would have maybe if I was drinking, whatever, dude. I mean, but now I'm able to recognize because of the clarity, without being clouded.
The road gets wider.
Yeah.
For you, where it was once narrow and you were only by yourself. And
me against the world.
Right when we hit those rock bottoms.
Yeah.
And there were many for me, but when I hit the final one, I had to make a choice.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. It's the same thing with self-forgiveness, I think, and that form of self-love. When you forgive yourself and then you forgive other people for their transgressions, I really feel that that's the baseline for you to start healing from within.
Yeah.
Because information doesn't take up real estate anymore. You acknowledge it, and you're like, shit, I'm past this now. And you can let it go. It doesn't stay with you. You're always going to remember this stuff, but it's not going to stick with you and weigh you down. And then I really feel, and this happened with me, because, like I said, I went to jail. I was in a heavy state of depression. I went in for like 5 months. the charges that were stacked on me put a series of restraining orders on. And I wasn't allowed to talk to my kids for almost 2 years.
Wow.
So what I did was spend a lot of money that my family gave me, spent about half of what they gave me, about $8,000, on a studio. I had no idea what this music synthesizer stuff did.
Right.
I bought a Moog 37. I bought a Mother 32. I bought all kinds of cool gear. Sat in its boxes for 4 months. I was terrified of it. Ableton was, scary as hell to me. I didn't know how to operate in it. But I started putting stuff together, and it eventually garnered the attention of a record label out in California.
Right.
who
Well,
took me
and
under
it's
their wing.
also your passion was lying. I mean, let's get to that part too. I mean, you had a love for music and electronic
me.
music.
Saved me.
Yeah.
Late 90s rave kid for a couple years.
Yeah.
So DJ Charles Feelgood. Not sure if
I
you're
know.
familiar with him.
I know Chucky Feelgood, dude. Well, dude,
Oh.
he is one of my homies.
New Hampshire.
Yeah.
He had 3 rooms all on his section, all on his stage.
Yeah.
Where it was other artists. There were 3 stages.
Yeah.
He pulled almost everybody to his stage, myself included, and that's when I was just enamored with.
Yeah, he's great.
Dance music.
I commented on a photo and I was like, dude, you're the black George Clooney, dude, because he's like a really good looking dude.
Yeah.
But he gets like better looking as he gets older. You know, it's like. He's great. He's a great DJ. Fantastic.
I got to shout him out the other day with Defected Only.
Yeah.
Defected Only, Defected Records, essentially. They actually acknowledged my comment, too.
Oh, cool.
Which I think is just such a big win.
Yeah.
I really do, because I think that when you get into that, and this is part of the equation that I have going on for me with the joy and the happiness, there were days that just through social media that's what got me by. Somebody liked my comment or acknowledged me. And
right. Well, and then
helped pull me through.
that's the danger, though, about social media is that's how I get my validation,
You're
but,
right.
I mean, it does help, and don't get me wrong, but, I mean, a lot of people, that's another thing you can get addicted to is
You're
just that
absolutely
validation.
correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely correct.
Right.
To be honest with you, that's a great point because I
Wait,
think I have.
Hold on,
gotten
I
carried
have
away.
a problem.
Yeah.
Right. But it's tricky. I mean, it's like, oh, cool. How come only 30 people like this post?
Right.
Right. It's like you get to start playing that game with yourself. So that can get, a little tricky too if you let it.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that happened for me recently in this regard, Fractal Music. He's got about 72,000 followers, and he's out of Brazil. He runs events with Clandestine Records. I didn't realize that he had Clandestine Records. This is a bonus for me, and I'll get to that in a second. But, excuse me. Fractal, on his bio for Instagram, says, changing lives through music is my goal. I really like that. So I messaged him. We have dialogue. He invited me to send demos to his label, which runs events, and it's a label out of Brazil. I looked at one of their reels, over 87,000 views on one of their reels. That outreach is enormous.
Yeah.
And here's what I wanted to really, this is just the preface to what I'm about to tell you. When I got into this music, I wanted to impact people the same way that I was impacted. I wanted to help save people.
There you go.
So that being that was a real thing, and I wasn't sure that anybody was listening to my music until I got to OKC. This past winter, I was at Flux, an after-hours nightclub in OKC, and I approached a woman that I had recognized through social media, introduced myself, and she said, "Ryan, I know who you are." And I'm going to make a longer story short. She told me that what I have been doing with my music that she's heard and what I was doing actively in the local scene pulled her out of a depth of darkness that she no longer wanted to commit suicide.
Yeah.
I still don't know what to do or say
You're like,
about
man,
that.
I'm just playing music, dude.
Yeah.
And you're like, you don't realize that, man.
No, to have that kind of validation that I actually achieved that
Yeah.
in such an early period in this musical journey that I have.
Sure.
If I did it with 1, I can do it with 2. I know I can do it with 4. I know
Right.
it's gonna be better.
Yeah.
It's gonna
I love
get
it.
better.
I love it. Well, let's talk about, because we're going to wrap it up here in about 10 minutes. But let's talk about the recovery part. So, did you use what was it, like 12 steps, or did you have a mentor, or what was it? What was the secret sauce, so to
None
speak?
of it.
No. Okay.
No mentor, no sponsor, no
Okay.
12-step. I used 12 pieces of the 12-step.
Well, this
program.
guy's a mentor to you, but is that more of the music scene or what?
That is absolutely music scene and life coach.
Okay.
Friend, he's a battle buddy.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
We're talking about Dykro, my friend Addison over here, a mentor.
What's
of mine.
up, man?
How you doing?
Thank you for quietly sitting here the entire time.
Addison was instrumental in not just housing me when I was nearly homeless,
Right.
but he had also shown me what equipment actually functioned like, how to use it. And no kidding, 15 minutes after he showed me, the guy who was opening up in the club couldn't open. His thumb drives wouldn't read because he had
Right.
all FLAC files.
Ah.
So
You're thrust into it all of a
I
sudden?
absolutely was, and
Yeah.
I shook like a leaf for the whole set.
All right.
Addison came up and said, "Hey, your transitions are as smooth as butter. Keep going."
Uh-huh.
I had another guy came up and said, "See, you got it.
Right.
You're okay." But I'm telling you, Kelly and Chad, I was scared shitless.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. It's because people don't realize, but it can get nerve-wracking
Yeah.
up there. Especially, I find it more nerve-wracking. Like when I had a residency, not so much because you know exactly what to expect and all this stuff. But I was still drinking the whole time. But it's very nerve-wracking going from, I don't know what I'm showing up to.
Right.
I don't know what I'm coming into. Hopefully the equipment's good. Hopefully the sound is good. Hopefully the crowd shows up.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're into what I'm playing. Hopefully, all these different things that it's, it's not the, I do it because I love it, and at the end of the day, I would do it for free,
Yeah,
So,
I feel ya.
you.
I've done a lot of free DJing for this year that
Right.
I've been active.
Right.
Now it's starting to culminate. It's culminated in some wonderful things with residencies.
Right.
So I live a very blessed life.
Yeah, and
if
well,
not for Addison,
Right.
I wouldn't have the
So
baseline
shout out
fundamentals
Addison, dude.
Oh, thank
and
you.
wouldn't have the success that I've had. And
Right.
I've been told that I'm moving extremely fast for the OKC scene.
Right.
And he's been part of telling
Cool.
me that and supporting me. He's
Right.
down here now to support me.
Right.
He's just an amazing, amazing person. And like I said, if not for him, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Right.
I would not.
Well, let's talk. Okay, so that's cool. As far as the music and it being almost like an aversion therapy for you. But let's talk about a couple other things, like for somebody that's struggling out there. I always like to just dabble on that, that you would offer as advice to somebody out there that might be struggling or a family member that
Okay.
they could use.
Yeah, mental vocabulary shift is an enormous one for me. With the self-forgiveness, the mental vocabulary shift where you're not self-deprecating,
Mm-hmm.
you can't do that.
Yeah.
You really cannot do that. Because I can be
When
positive
it's like
around
when
you guys.
people say love yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
But I can be positive around you guys all day long and may be able to influence you a little bit. Influence. But when you get behind closed doors, what are you really no kidding like? Are you positive inside, or are you
Right.
just relying on other people to show you an example?
Mm-hmm.
It has to come from within. Sometimes it has to be a choice that you're choosing the happy. And when you start stacking these things up, the mental vocabulary shift starts to happen, where you're not self-deprecating anymore, and you're literally bleeding positivity
Right.
from within. Your cup starts to fill up with you. It's something I stumbled upon during
Right.
my periods of loneliness and the self-reflection.
Right. Well, I think what you said was really important. The thing is having that dialogue with yourself, and
Critical.
if that's a spiritual awakening or your meditation, whatever you want to call it. But because we always have that choice, to go, oh man, I have to go do this, or hey man, I get to go do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
If I keep calling myself a piece of shit when I'm by myself, after I've said all these fucking fantastic words to people,
Right.
trying to help people and all this shit, those words don't carry as much depth and weight when they
Correct.
see me when I fight. Because if I keep calling myself a piece of shit behind closed doors, guess what? One of those days I'm going to walk out and I'm going to be a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So if I can actually like start to be positive in my own life with everything I'm doing and start to like look at things from, because it's like when you're in your active addiction and you have all that stuff, it's a warped perception that you have on reality.
I agree.
And once you start getting through it, you change that perception into perspective, and other people feed off of perspective. Because
Absolutely.
everybody's trapped in their own perception.
Absolutely.
Well,
So-
I was going to add, Chad, just to validate you, you are an incredible piece of shit. So,
Jesus Christ. I
Malleable.
just said like some wise ass shit, dude, and here he goes, bro.
I would say malleable.
yeah, right.
Malleable.
No, that was deep, dude. That
Good
was.
stuff.
Man, fuck you, dude. Thank you guys for coming on, but fuck you, dude.
Anyway, dude. Well, hey, man, we're going to wrap it up.
Cool.
But, I mean, I appreciate you making the road trip out here.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Honor.
And then, you know, we're looking forward to, like, what are your socials if people want to follow you?
It's Elektrik Ryhno, but the spelling has a European feel to it.
Uh-huh.
It's ELEK
Uh-huh.
TRIK
Okay.
and Ryhno RYHNO.
Okay. And we have that actually up on the screen, but just
And-
in case anybody's
And
listening.
for the quiet gentleman over there, would you like to say a few words about your stuff too?
Well, I guess my socials are just _DICRO_ on Instagram and the same on Facebook.
And you're a DJ producer as well?
Yes, I am.
Cool. Love it. I love
Awesome.
it. Well, dude, I appreciate you coming out. And then also, of course, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Because
Yes.
that's a big thing. And, I mean, you went through a lot, you know,
A little
to keep this country free. I mean, you know, to play your part in that role. So I applaud that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So blessed right now. I get to party on the back half, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there you
dude.
go, dude.
And
I love it.
that's something else you were talking about earlier, just real quick. Like if the dark is this dark, then how bright is the bright? Or
Yeah.
how light is the light?
I
And
did
that's
like
what it is,
that.
dude.
Yeah.
The worst people, like the people that go through the worst shit in the world, once they finally get through it, end up with the fucking best lives and the best chance of helping other people not
Yeah.
get as dark as they did.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
and also, you know, to echo off that, you appreciate it more once you've been through a shit show, then you know what that side's like. So you
1,000%.
can like, oh man, this is what it's like.
I get the privilege of spending a lot of time with a lot of my acquaintances, friends in the scene, and I'm able to share my experiences with them wholeheartedly, and I know that I have impacted and helped people.
Right.
It's
Well,
it's
I mean,
been a
just like you
phenomenal
get, like
experience.
sometimes you hear it, like that girl that came up and said to you, you know, yeah, basically you brought me out of my depression.
Yeah.
You know. So, anyway, but shout out for coming out and you know, keep doing what you're doing because I think you got good things coming up, kid. I think you got a future in this biz, kid.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Chad.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on. Hey, man. And then remember to subscribe if you haven't followed the channel. We're also on, what else?
YouTube, Anchor, all that
Here,
shit.
it's time to change
Very
me,
cool.
Chad.
Yeah, man, I bet.
Anyway, thanks for watching. We've got Mr. Don Radon next week, and he's got his own sober living. He's going to come on and share his experience. So be sure and tune in next week. But thanks again, guys. And remember, kids, there is no magic pill for sobriety because if there was, we would all take too many.